Finally, an answer to the age-old question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg roll? Easy. Just eat whichever one's closest. The Sensation Salad and Filet Sandwich Meal are back at Zaxby's. Both feature our famous hand-breaded chicken, crispy wontons, Asian slaw, and citrus vinaigrette. And each comes with its very own egg roll for a limited time only at Zaxby's. Try them with fried pickles while supplies last.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good. The sensation is back. You know that. Also, the ultimate Seminole sports source bringing back the ultimate preseason offer. Corey, I mean, can you believe we're still doing this thing? I think till August 15th. So act now, everybody. Tell them, Corey. Make sure they'll believe you more than me.
Yeah, it's a great deal. If you don't have it already, if you haven't used it already, well, obviously we hope most of you are subscribers.
Right.
But if you're not a subscriber and you haven't already taken advantage of this deal, what are you doing? Right. What are you doing with your life? And going back to the sensation, I had it yesterday.
You did?
That's what I was waiting to eat after we were done with the live part of the show, the live show, and I crushed it. Even though it had been sitting around for an hour, it was still awesome.
It's Zaxby's, man. Come on. It's I don't want to say infallible, but I mean, come on.
Basically is. I mean, if you can almost try to make it not good by letting it sit around in your kitchen for an hour and then not even heating it up just because you're so hungry. You just devour it, but you don't even want to take time to put it back in the microwave. It was still really good.
I
love how you, Zaxby's.
I love how you kind of live a bachelor lifestyle, although you have a significant other and a child, and then I have these properly prepared meals I make, and I clean everything, and I'm living this domesticated life, and I have no one to live it for. It's crazy how life works sometimes. Also crazy, this podcast, we're going to take it off Podbean, so if you do listen to this on Podbean, begin your transition to either the podcast app on Apple or maybe Google Podcasts, or ask your friend what podcast app they use. And the promo code, in case you don't know, folks, is Norvell2020, and you get 25% off an annual membership. And Garnet and Gold is kicking in a $25 e-card. So even if you don't live in Tallahassee, you can use this anywhere as long as you have the internet. And GeneWilliams.com is give them 3 months, Aslan. So you get 3 free months on top of your year membership that's discounted at 25%. So hop on. Let's do this. 12:15 Thursday, we will talk to Mike Norvell, Adam Fuller, Kenny Dillingham, John Papuchis. Man, I haven't said his name in so long. I think I used to say Papuchis, and it was wrong, but it actually is Papuchis. But I was second-guessing myself with Langston on the show the other day. And we're going to speak to some student athletes. I think Marvin, Tamorian, I didn't give a full look at the list, but we'll talk to them at 12:15. We'll have reaction or the actual interviews up on the YouTube channel and Warchant. And then Ira will join Corey and I for Friday's podcast, and we'll pretty much talk about them talking. And then they practice Friday, and we'll see if we'll be able to be out there. Brave new world, Corey, brave new world.
Either way, it's here. There's actually football. By the time you're listening to this, football will be less than 24 hours. Well, football practice will be less than 24 hours away for Florida State, which is pretty remarkable in and of itself.
Yeah, I cannot believe it, man. It's amazing. What do you think about Division II and Division III calling off all their championship sports in the fall?
No, I mean, none of that is a surprise to me. I don't. Again, we know the difference between Division III sports and big-time college football. It's just there's no money in it. It's a losing proposition. Those sports, I hate to speak frankly. If anybody out there has been a Division II or Division III athlete or knows someone that is, they don't matter when it comes to money at all. There's no money to be made off them, so they'll push it back. They'd rather be err on the side of caution when there's no money at all involved.
Yeah.
That doesn't imply, by the way, that it's any more dangerous what these football players are doing. The ones that are actually, on campus and practicing, think you saw the Louisville news, right?
Yeah, but I read the headline. I didn't read the news, and then Ira was like, Aslan, read the news. So, yeah. Was it field hockey, volleyball, and soccer?
They shut down because it was 29 athletes or something, right, that tested positive?
Yeah.
And they all and I don't know if any of them football players?
I don't think so. But they didn't shut down football, though, did they?
No, they did not, but they shut all the other sports down.
Right.
And they all got it at an off-campus party.
Yeah.
So that's the issue that we're going to have moving forward if and when students get back to campus.
Is it a fair question? Well, here's the thing, Corey. You're going to have to ask all the questions later.
Okay. I love doing that.
Because do you though? Do you? I feel like you don't like asking the questions.
Oh, you're talking about tomorrow in the press conferences.
Yeah, or today.
Oh, I thought you meant just talking to you right now.
Oh, you never ask me anything because you don't care about my opinion. But is it going to be like
valid?
We need to ask. Don't we need to ask Norvell if there's an expectation or a hope that these players will avoid being human beings to a certain extent? I mean, that sounds.
I mean, you don't phrase it that way,
right,
but yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
because that's the issue. It's bigger than if the offensive line can block. It's bigger than who the quarterback is going to be. It's if your team and all the other teams can figure out a way to bubbleize themselves without having a bubble. And so they're going to have to make sacrifices. They don't have to. They can go to as many parties as they want. Football would probably be shut down pretty soon thereafter, or they can adjust and realize, okay, there's 70 people in that house. I'm not going in there. Whatever you have to do. They can go live their life. They're free to, but there will be ramifications if there's a big breakout on the team because somebody went to, or multiple people went to a house party.
Well, let's start here then, I guess, with the Renegade Express.
I don't know, but you don't need them. I don't know. I don't like the idea of making them sign stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, here's your like in Days Confused. Here's your promise that you're not going to do any of these activities off the field. I don't know that you get them to sign something, but you preach to them and you hope that they understand that if you get this and bring it back, the chances are much greater that they get it outside the football field than on it. And so I think that's very. That's a perfectly fair question.
I'm not going to touch that. Coach Preston Jones out there in Gilbert, Arizona. Perry Pumas, former coach of Chubba Purdy, told his guys, you're not allowed to party. Like, no parties for his high school players. They had to sign a pledge. Pretty sure when I was in high school, all my buddies, senior year that played football, the head coach made them all sign a promise like that they wouldn't drink. Which I guess you can because we're all underage. We're not supposed to drink. But he really went hardcore. I think we maybe made to like the second round of the playoffs that year. So way to go, Coach.
Okay, all right. There you go.
But let's start at the bottom. This is kind of relevant to what we kind of started off with. It's from Get Down Black, and by saying the bottom, I mean he was one of the last people to get a question in on the Renegade Express thread before we began. So here we go. What's good, Ashman and Sea Dog? Wake up. Was wondering what you guys think, or do you think it's possible? Can we just put the whole football program in a bubble or a tent? I mean, quarantine to an extent. Let's give them most of their favorite foods and restaurants catered in. Have anybody that wants to enter quarantine in a different tent for 14 days before entering. Friends, family, significant others, cheerleaders can also do this for their friends and such. Pretty much they have to live in the bubble for the whole season. Same with basketball and every sport where their season starts. When their season starts, rather, but mainly football and BB, which I'm guessing is basketball. Hell, fans, too, they got to set up tents in the bubble for the whole season if they want to go to games. LOL, LOL. What you guys think?
So he had two LOLs?
Two.
Back to back?
Back to back. But a space between them, a space between each of them, yeah.
Okay, that's rarely seen.
It is.
The double LOL, the back-to-back LOL. I'm not going to take the role of Debbie Downer. I have a hard time seeing how college football lasts if they don't figure out a way to bubble up the players. The NBA, again, bubbles work, people. All these ideas about, testing and masks and socially distant and rapid testing and all that really, really work. They did not have a positive. And they're 300 again. And there are 353 tests on players that they did, or whatever it was, on Wednesday. There was 0 positives. The NHL had 0 positives. The bubbles work. Meanwhile, the Cardinals in baseball are at a casino, and the Marlins are God knows where in Atlanta. Magic City, maybe. Who knows where they went. So the point being, you just heard a story about 29 athletes. I don't even know if kids are on campus yet at Louisville.
Yeah.
And still 29 athletes managed to catch it at one party. It stemmed from one party. So, but at the same time, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how could you bubble out. I don't know how you could organize something in the next 3 weeks where these kids are in some, and obviously it's not a bubble like you rent out a hotel or anything like that. You hope they stay to themselves. But again, that's a hope and not a lot of promise to that hope. They're college kids. And they're not being compensated like an NBA player to stay in a bubble. So, anyway.
And also just the amount of people behind the scenes, I don't think we can really even fathom. Like how many people are in Orlando making this happen for the NBA, and also did it for the MLS, which I think is starting to wind down. The NHL is doing 2 hub cities. I think they're doing 2, right? Toronto and Edmonton? Or is it everything in Edmonton right now?
No, there's 2. Yeah. I don't know anything about the NHL, but I do know they have 2 hub cities, yeah.
Yeah, they have no positives either.
Major League Baseball couldn't think to do that. Why would you? And also the reason I brought up, I think it's germane to this question, is USC just announced right before we started recording that they're going to digital only. The University of Southern California is like straight. If you're taking classes with us this fall, it's going to be digital only, other than the student athletes who are still practicing. So, I know we poo-pooed that 3 or 4 months ago, but to me that's the way to make it. That's the way to make it happen.
Everybody, all you students stay home. We're going to turn this campus into just a virtual sort of sports haven bubble.
No, I'm not saying that's the best way for Florida State to make money. That's the best way for college football to happen. But there's a lot of money in enrollment. And I have a 12-year-old. When he's 17 or 18 and he's getting ready to go off to a college, I am not going to pay whatever I would have to pay for him to sit at home and take a class over a computer. That's just not the college experience. I know Harvard can afford to do it, but schools like Florida State and I guess USC too. I think USC's private though, isn't it?
Yeah, they are.
But public schools, I don't know that they can afford to do that. So it's a big pickle, man. It's a big old pickle. I don't think there's serious discussion about putting them in bubbles. But when the kids come back to campus, it's just every day you're going to wake up, look at Twitter, and just hope for the best. Or I should say, go to warchant.com and hope for the best. Not breaking news. There's been an outbreak, because that's just what you worry about when you have 30,000 people returning to campus.
Yeah, well,
But I'm not the bearer of bad news. Not all those people are going to come back. There is going to be online classes for a lot of those students. And people are learning. The numbers in Florida are going down drastically in the last few days. They've been cut in half. So maybe people are getting the message. And maybe there won't be outbreaks when kids get back to campus, because they've seen it up close and personal. And they'll wear masks or be socially distant or whatever they have to do to make sure we have football.
Also saw South Carolina, I think, spoke on behalf of the SEC, or maybe I got it conflated somehow, but I think Will Muschamp had a press conference on Wednesday, and he said that they plan, South Carolina, on testing 3 times a week, which I think is, that's about the baseline you could use to make this work.
And I think, the Big Ten had their players come out. The Players Tribune, I guess, is the way to do this, huh? If you're going to not unionize, but have a group together as a
Unity group.
A player
Unity
group.
Right, yeah.
Unity group with the Big Ten players said that they wanted more testing. I don't know if those were demands. I'm not sure exactly I don't know if it was an ultimatum, like we need this, this, and this, or we're not playing. But those are the things they want. There are a lot of things they listed, but one of them was more testing. A lot more testing. And I told you, guys, when we heard about Wednesday only, by the NCAA's recommendations were Wednesday only, that is just utter nonsense. It's fine. You can do it that way. You can't play a season that way. You can't go 6 days in between tests. You just can't. And not track it. Not to the point where you can be safe and know who has it and who doesn't. So hopefully every big-time conference will adopt. It shouldn't be just South Carolina doing that. It shouldn't be left to the colleges. The conferences should mandate at least 2 tests a week, and probably 3 is your best bet.
If you've got the money, and these are not cheap things to pull off. Why
would anything in our medical industry be cheap?
Yeah, right. Do you think they should be mandated to reveal their testing numbers once a week? I mean, some schools are doing it, some are not. I think Florida State's one of the schools that's not.
No, I think they need to be mandated to reveal them to every family on campus, which again it'll get out eventually. But you tell all the players and their families who's tested positive, and you tell the team you're going to play.
But what about kids? So we're not thinking students will be here. Like, what if Brady's got a class with Marvin? No, I shouldn't say Marvin, was it? If he's got a class with Johnny Smith, who plays left tackle, and Johnny has it. Like, does Brady not deserve to know that?
Oh no, I'm saying that's why I'm saying it'll get out anyway. But yes, anybody that has a son or daughter at Florida State, yeah, I think you should know that. Hey, were you in class with Johnny Smith?
Yeah,
because he's
Good
tested
name,
positive for COVID. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to. I do think you should. That would be nice to do, but we'll see. I mean, again, I don't know if how many football players will be taking non-online classes in the fall.
Also, we have to ask if anyone's opted out, right?
Yeah, sure.
I don't think anybody has. I think Micah Parsons, the guy from Minnesota. There's 2 guys, I think, from South Carolina that opted out, but for, they're immunocompromised, not because they're going to the NFL and don't want to get hurt. Which, by the way, Marvin Wilson, man, God, poor kid. He has no chance. He has no opportunity. Like, he has no other option but to play now. Because, if Marvin, if you're listening to this, if you decide not to play, man, just delete all your social media. Just do it. You will.
Well, it wouldn't be. Hey, Marvin, I'm not backing that. I'm not backing that sentiment. I understand where it comes from. I'm sure there are a lot of people that probably would nod their heads at that sentiment, but just know I'm not backing it. In case I ever see Marvin one-on-one, he would break me in half and throw both halves into a trash can.
I like Marvin. Marvin's conscientious young guy. I like him. I do like him. So I'm just trying to help everybody out. Just giving you honest opinions. What we do here. Let's begin with Mad AMCZ. Marky Mark, man. I think he dropped us. What did he give us? Like $50 the other night on the live chat?
That was huge.
It's crazy, man. We appreciate it, everybody. I'm terrible at showing appreciation and thanks, but it was it's great, all the support we get on those live chats. Join us. If you listen to this on the podcast, I mean, you still are my favorite children. This is what we do it for. You folks grinding, waking up 5 a.m., waking the kids up, making them breakfast, getting on the Acela train or whatever, taking the red line. I don't know, whatever. What's the MARTA? MARTA colors? What are the paths on the MARTA?
It's blue and orange.
Blue and orange,
I think.
Ew, gross.
Unless they've changed it. I feel like it's been that way at least my whole lifetime.
Green. Let's say there's going to be a green line at least on it. We don't want to say blue and orange. But, you feel the grind on the podcast. But, if you're up during the evening on a Tuesday, the YouTube things can be kind of fun sometimes. But with that said, wake up and hey now. That's a Cameron thing, right? Or that's Howard Stern, hey now?
Well, it's Howard Stern, but it comes from the Larry Sanders Show.
Oh, okay. I did not. Thank you for setting me straight, Corey. Corey, Mark asks, what are your reasons for giving Chubba the, quote, slight edge to start at quarterback? James has like 24 college games under his belt. Perhaps minimal to no fans makes it less intimidating for Chubba to play as a freshman? He had a question mark. I was trying to make that sound like a question.
Yeah, you got it.
Accuracy issues with James, an issue in Norvell's offense? Question mark. I just don't see a true freshman starting over a redshirt junior unless Chubba is simply lights out, and I hope he is. Who's your pick also, by the way, to win the PGA this weekend? Brooks starting to peak. Maybe Daniel Berger breaks through for his first major. Can't wait to hear the interviews from practice on Friday. It's go time.
Yeah, I think Chubba. It's just maybe what you know versus it's the known versus the unknown, and what we know has not been good. There's a lot of evidence of that, but again, That's why I don't say it's like 80-20 that Chubba starts. I mean, it's a new coordinator, new system. Blackman's had one every year, so you have to give him the benefit of the doubt there. But, yeah, I think they really like Chubba a lot. I think that the fact that he throws a really nice deep ball is important, and he can move a little bit. And I think they will use his legs. Blackman's just not – I mean, he can move around a little bit, but he's just not a running threat at all, right?
Yeah, he's no Michael Vick, as his uncle and godfather admitted on the pod. You know, my thing, I guess, with James, and, you know, his uncle, godfather, was on the show earlier this week, was just talking about he feels optimistic. He thinks that we're going to see, you know, the James that was kind of ended 2017 on an uptick. We're going to kind of see him resume that trajectory. I hope so. I really do. I just go back to the Jimbo sort of corollary of you can break them before you can make them when you throw guys out there too early. I just do wonder, not even maybe so much 17. I mean, 17, he took some hard hits. I mean, I'm talking more along the line, not physically, but just being in some really stressful situations, losing games, losing them in tough outcomes. And then last year, you know, the way they lost the Boise game, Virginia game, Wake Forest game, they weigh on you, man. They really do. You know, hopefully a new staff can maybe tell you to flush it, give you that more consistent hard-line coaching that you seem to gravitate more towards. But I think that's with, you know, maybe Chubba's just, I don't know how to say this. I'm trying to say it, but I'm probably going to say it wrong. Just like he's like too dumb to know better, maybe, you know. And I'm not saying anything about his level of intelligence, but just he doesn't have the scars, if you will. He might just come in there just, you know, footloose and fancy free. I think that's a Jeff Cameron thing.
Yeah, that's right.
He might come in there doing that, have that sort of mentality, which is what you need. Because so much of what we see from James, I feel like, is the second read, is the hesitation that leads to bad things happening. Like very rarely, and a lot of it's because he doesn't get proper protection, and nobody has in the last 3 years. Like rarely do we see him like sit in the pocket with 3 seconds and make a second or third read and make a nice check down throw. It's like he wants the one guy that he's kind of locked in on the crossing route, and he's not open, and he hesitates a second, then he throws it, and then by that time a defensive lineman's dropped back into coverage and has jumped up and picked it off at the line of scrimmage or things like that. So I don't know how much of that stuff is still weighing on him. I just think that's something that Chubba doesn't have weighing on him.
Yeah, and there's some recency bias, too, when it comes to our opinions and the fact that the last time we saw James, what he did and what he looked like. But again, I always say it's like it's 51-49. Like I could see either one of them winning the job. Blackman can certainly have a great camp and win the thing.
Recency bias, we all remember where he was. Yeah, Sun Bowl. That Sun Bowl was tough.
You were there. You were in beautiful El Paso watching it in person.
But, you know, again, just he's like the anti-Elway or like the anti-Favre. He just like the fourth quarter, they had it, man. They had the ball last. They were going down the field, and then
that wasn't his fault.
I know that's what I'm saying. It's just like, you know, he kind of snaked, and Tamori needs to stop that stuff too. I hope we see him do that. He'll do that in practice where like he'll extend his hands all the way out to catch the ball and then leave it like that when he's running. It's like, no, man, just bring it into that 6'4", 225-pound chiseled first round pick, first ballot Canton Hall of Famer frame of yours, and let's score touchdowns, man.
You tell him, Coach. You tell him.
Drill Sergeant Porter, wake up. 3 things to talk about. Thanks. 1, if we beat Miami, we are state champs. That's correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Florida,
that's true.
Florida deferred. They quit. They won. They didn't show up to the dance. 2, if Coach Mike Norvell beats North Carolina, he will do something Jimbo Fisher couldn't, because that was the only ACC team Fisher did not beat while coaching at FSU. Really?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he beat him as an OC the one year, but yeah, he never beat him as the head coach. He almost did.
Yeah.
He almost did, but it didn't quite happen.
What was the final score of that game in 16? Was it like a one? It wasn't like tied.
30,
like we were up,
it was like
right?
37-35.
Okay, yeah, we were leading. Yeah, it wasn't a tie game. We had the lead.
Yeah, they took the lead with 18 seconds left and lost.
Charles Kelly, great thing.
Yeah.
I think the countdown was 59 days or something the other day on Twitter, like 59 days from the start of Alabama football. And instead of showing somebody who was number 59 or whatever the yardage was, they showed the touchdown that I think Calvin Ridley caught on Stanford Samuels III.
Hey, he was supposed to have safety help.
And it's just Charles Kelly for it. That one play, everything changed. Everything changed. That one play.
Yeah.
You want to pinpoint it? You guys want to pinpoint the beginning of the end for Jimbo?
Well, no, I think the non-pass interference in the end zone was the biggest play of that game, followed by they were already going to lose when Francois got hurt, but they weren't going to have that kind of season, I don't think, if Francois had not gotten hurt.
I mean, that year, Florida State quite literally was the only team that had a lead on Alabama, and it was all of like 52 seconds.
Yeah,
until they
short-lived.
Until they made it to I don't know what game. There was one game where they fell behind, and I was like, oh, look at that. Florida State no longer has that feather in their cap. That was when I was really at the height of my Jimbo defense. Like when I was on the radio in Alabama, I'm like, Jimbo Fisher, man, he's the only guy that had the lead on Alabama. You guys are killing and crushing everybody, but he had the lead on y'all. Yeah. And Charles Kelly, just Charles Kelly. NYC _Noel _2. Well, actually, well, no, let's number 3. I'm sorry, he's not done. Sorry, Drill Sergeant Porter. In 2014, do you think Florida State wins a title if it was still the BCS? It would have only been us and Bama being the only 2 undefeated teams. I think maybe we are a little more locked in for that game. Thanks. As always, go Noles.
In what year? 2014?
Yeah. Do we win the title?
I mean, I would they have even been in it? They were. Right? I think they were third.
Yeah.
I think they were third at the BCS in those rankings. And Alabama was not undefeated. Florida State was the only undefeated team, and they were third behind 2 one-loss teams. And that's why they had to go to Pasadena. They should have been the 1 seed playing Ohio State in New Orleans, and Alabama and Oregon should have been playing each other. But instead, Florida State had to go to Oregon to play the Heisman Trophy winner in 2,000 miles away. No, I don't. Well, I don't know, man. What was that? Coker? That was Sims, right? That wasn't a great Alabama team. They could have beaten. Yeah, sure, I'll say that they could have beaten that Alabama team. But I just don't. The theory that if the BCS was still there. Well, you know what? If it was the BCS, absolutely. There's no way that Florida State wouldn't have been number 1 if they were under the same because it became the stupid committee. That was the first year of the committee. And all the stupid game, what was it called?
Game control.
Game control. And all these stupid made-up metrics where all of a sudden Florida State's having to justify why they should be even in the conversation when they're undefeated. So I do think if the BCS was still around, none of that nonsense ever gets introduced to voters' minds. And yes, they do finish either first or second, probably first. And yeah, I think they could have taken that Alabama team. They could have beaten Blake Sims.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm looking it up. There is a Twitter account called BCS Know-How that was still doing using the BCS formula, and they still do it, I think. To kind of let you know where everybody would be standing if we were doing the BCS. And this was the simulated BCS rankings that use the AP, coaches, and the 5 computers. The Billingsley, which is, I think, long been your favorite, Corey. Massey, Coley, Sagarin.
Never liked Massey.
Yeah, either have I. Just too inconsistent. A lot of Midwest bias. But they had Florida State was number 2 in that simulated BCS. Bama was 1, Florida State 2, Oregon 3, Ohio State 4.
But I would even say this, and I don't know how much the AP polls and I can't remember how much the polls weighted in with the BCS formula.
Yeah,
I don't know if they were each 33% and the computers were 33%. But what happened with that selection committee is the first week that they moved Florida State down for winning, everybody was like, "What is this? You can't." Voters didn't. Voters still had Florida State overwhelmingly number 1 because that's how it's always been in college football. If you're number 1 and you win, you stay there. So voters didn't do it. But after the second or third week of seeing like Mississippi State go up or then Oregon rise up and actually go past Florida State, even though Florida State doesn't have a loss, it became like commonplace for the voters to think like that. They're like, oh, okay, I guess we don't put the undefeated team number 1. So I know for a fact that Florida State wasn't number 1 in the AP poll when those final rankings were released, but they would have been in 2013. It's like three weeks of that dumb selection committee. By the way, they're still meeting. I want you to understand that. Yeah. They're meeting in some swank resort in Colorado this week to talk about the upcoming season because college football has a lot of money. And apparently Zoom doesn't exist. And they're going to do in-person meetings throughout the season. They announced that this week, too.
Also, speaking of swanky and college football having loads of money, you see Steve Sarkisian
Yeah, 2.8, right, to be an assistant college football coach, right?
I thought it was 2.5, but
Whatever. Who's counting? It's more than you and I make. Certainly more than those Alabama players make.
Thus concludes Drill Sergeant Porter's 3 questions. Thanks, Drill Sergeant Porter. Appreciate you. NYC_Noel_2. So we have another NYC Noel that has the late, great Paul Gleason flashing the horns. 2 months, Bender.
Right. Yep.
It's been a while since we've heard from him. But anyhow, first off, Zach here, giving a shout-out to a fellow daily listener, my barber, Rob, in Deerfield Beach. If you need a fade in the Boca Raton, Deerfield Beach area, message me. I'll connect y'all.
Nice. There you go. A little public service.
So we're trying to do. So
Hope that helps you out, Rob.
Yeah, his avatar is Charlie Ward scrambling away from a sprawling Miami defender. Number 76. I don't know. Is that Russell Maryland? But Russell Maryland wasn't around in 93, was he?
Wouldn't that be Warren Sapp?
Oh, yeah, Sapp. There we go. That's what I was thinking of. 76. Good number, jerk. Corey, Aslan, way to go keeping us entertained in the midst of all this turmoil. You guys recently discussed the effects of the Pac-12 player statements and how we're approaching the income inequity in college football. There seems to be valid points on both sides of the player pay discussion, but I can't help to feel as though this is inevitably going to turn off many fans. When we approach the point that high schoolers are being approached with salaries at ages as young as 15, this becomes a business for the student. Obviously, it's already a huge business for the school and lays bare any fig leaf of school pride, in quotes, or altruism. It becomes pro-light and loses the feel of college versus pro, which I think will turn off a lot of people. Just my 2 cents. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid concern for sure. I would just think it's odd to me, and I certainly understand that point, and I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about it when this starts happening. And I'm not even talking about the revenue split, like if that was actually a possibility. I'm talking about just the NILs and the players getting money for advertising for a car dealership or something. Our Warchant, guys, if you're out there, Warchant's looking for the perfect spokesperson. You got to be about 330. You got to be one of the 2 or 3 best tackles in the country, and hit us up. Find us on Facebook, DM us on Twitter, emails. Aslan, you'll read our emails at the end of the show. But what about when the coaches started making? We just taught an assistant college football coach makes $2.5 million. Like that's the business.
Yeah, it's not all that great either.
Sarky, yeah, I know. It's just because they have the money. Alabama has so much money they don't know what to do with it, so they're going to pay that dude. So that's the issue. Is like, yeah, I get what you're saying that it makes it a business, NFL light. Well, in some instances, it's NFL head. Like there's no. I can't imagine there's an offensive coordinator in the NFL that makes $2.5 million. There's certainly not. They're. What does Belichick make?
We don't know. That's the thing. Like for some reason that is so under wraps. You're probably better off or more likely to find out like what Notre Dame is making than you are,
So yeah, so like, once you started paying these, not just head coaches millions of dollars, but assistant coaches millions of dollars, it's hard to say, okay, now it's too much of a business because these players are getting some of the money. It's just perverse that some football coaches get $11 million. It's just crazy to me. But again, it's supply and demand. I get it. Well, the thing just got flipped, and these schools are all in a huge hole. Even the ones that make money are in a big hole now, and they can't afford to pay. I say that. I wonder if Alabama must have had that writing in place right before this hit.
Yeah, the sports editor John Talty at AL.com said that the escalator or the agreement to give him that salary was made before the pandemic. But that doesn't mean you can't be like, all right, well, let's revisit it and I'll take a 10% pay cut off of it.
Sure. Well, maybe he did.
Yeah.
Maybe it was going to be 2.8 and he made it 2.5. Who knows? But yeah, I also see the other side though. Like look, there's part of me that's like, hey man, once these coaches started becoming millionaires, all of them, then all bets are off when we want to, like he said, hide under the fig leaf of, I can't remember how he phrased it, but of amateurism. Yeah. But at the same time,
School pride.
it's good. You're right. At the same time, it's going to be hard to okay, so how much does the FSU starting secondary making?
Yeah.
That kid makes $36,000. This kid's making 44. This kid makes 21. Like, that's weird too. And yeah, that's going to be there wouldn't even be a veil. It wouldn't be even thinly veiled anymore. It would be just straight up, yeah, this is a minor league football team. Right?
So yeah.
But that's all me because I'm a fence sitter, guys. I have a lot of opinions, but I'm not strong enough in any of my convictions to actually say what's right and wrong. I do see both sides of this discussion because that I don't feel great about thinking about that either.
Yeah, you're right. I don't. And that is the double-edged sword. That's the whole thing here. But we just got to get real with it, though, right? I mean, we all know that, this isn't just, the Garnet and I don't know, Marvin took a photo and said, when I put this jersey on, it makes me feel something different. So maybe we are too cynical. Maybe there really is that sense of they feel energy when they step on this campus. That's what makes them commit here. They love the campus. They love the feel. They love the teammates and all that kind of stuff. But it does become kind of tough to, get lost in the escapism of the sport when you realize that guys that, are much younger than you, that haven't accomplished your educational achievements, are probably making more money than you. But, I think Ryan Russillo said on his podcast, we need to stop comparing ourselves to people that do things really extraordinary in their line of work. Because, if we were 6'3", 300 pounds and had feet like Dion, who are we to say don't pay us, right?
Sure.
I did some quick sloppy math.
I'd like it if it could be like put in a trust.
Yeah.
And say the players do, and we'll get off this. I don't know how even interesting this is. So let's say that like the SEC, let's just for S's and giggles, $100 million they make, $300 million in revenue. The players get a third of it. So that's $100 million split up 14 ways is, I don't know what that is, $7 million per school per year. And that so divided by 85 players, that's whatever it is. I can't do that kind of math. Not even going to try, folks. I would guess $12,000 or $14,000, somewhere in there, $15,000. So if that's in a trust, and then it accrues some things, it's almost like a pension, maybe. And by the time you graduate, or when you leave school, you get, if you've been there for 3 years, you get $45,000. That's not bad, right?
Yeah, no, that's I think even Willie, to his credit, said that he was in favor of when this was starting, like the NIL stuff was starting to bubble up, was saying that he feels players should get paid, but it should be kind of either when they leave.
I just don't like the thought of them like
graduation.
Yeah, I don't like I don't know about graduation, man. Like, so Dion doesn't get any money, but the backup center that graduated gets money. I don't know about that necessarily.
Well, but Dion's going to be all right, and the NFL's taking care of him,
Well, then, like, I don't know.
Let it roll over at State your school then. Like, let it either, like, I don't know, then maybe have it go to the general endowment or something like that, I mean, pay it forward.
Sure. But my point was that, like, I don't care that it's necessarily about graduate or tied to graduation, but I just don't like the thought. And I know I'm old. I guess I'm old school. I don't really like to think of myself that way, but of like them getting $29,000 that year to play football, because then, yeah, that is minor league football. But the day they leave, if they get a check for $52,000 for services rendered, I'm all about that. Yeah. Which there's really no difference. It's just I don't know. It's probably even a dumb point to make. I don't care.
No,
I make a lot of dumb points, people.
It's the marketing of it. It's the optics. It's a difference. There's a difference for sure.
But it's all 2021 and 2022. All this stuff it's so hard right now because we don't even know if there's going to be a football season. But in 2021 or 2022, I do think the wool has been pulled back so much with all these players that are going to now be playing college football that there are going to be some drastic changes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's happening, everybody. Just brace for it. Sabaxley 1212. It's been a while. Corey Aslan, wake up. Football practice starts Friday. Better enjoy it because who knows how much college football we will actually see. Ooh, come on, Sabaxley. That's my job. You got to bring Bring the positivity. Mickey Andrews deserves a statue or something to recognize what he meant to the Florida State football program. Is there a coach on this staff that will rise to greatness, yet stay as an assistant coach for Norvell the way Mickey did for Bobby? Or do you see the day of long-term assistant coaches as a thing of the past? Yeah, man, they're not.
I think of it as a thing of the past. I mean, what's his name at Virginia Tech? He might have been the last one.
Bud Foster.
Yeah. I think that's it. There's so much money. Heck, for all we know, Brent Venables just wants to be an assistant coach for the rest of his life. And if he is, and they end up winning more titles and going on, keeping this run going for the next 10 or 15 years, I bet they name something after Brent Venables in Clemson.
Hey-o.
I bet they do. I bet there's some sort of acknowledgement that he coached there, other than that huge check he gets. Yeah, and I don't know that necessarily Mickey deserves a statue, although I've always said that. But he deserves something. Name a street after him. Name the practice fields after him. Do something. Mickey Andrews Way, the Mickey Andrews practice fields, the Mickey Andrews cafeteria. I don't care. His name should be on something because he is the second most important person in the history of Florida State football. And if you walk around that stadium, there is no sign that he was ever there. And there should be, in my opinion. That's all my opinion, folks. I know I said it as fact, but it's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's not happening any longer.
Those days are done. It's just so much money. It's just everybody's upwardly mobile. They all want to be head coaches, and you can't blame them. And I don't foresee other than like strength coaches. Do they count?
Yeah, well, even Scott Cochran left Nick, went to Kirby and in Athens. I was saying, I wonder who's Saban's ops guy. Has he had the same, like Mark Robinson's been with Jimbo this whole time at Florida State, and he went with him to A&M. Maybe old Bruce Warwick will be that guy.
But you don't think Dillingham, right? That guy's going to be a head coach, especially if it goes well here. That guy's going to be a head coach somewhere. All those guys, Alex Atkins, I think will be a head coach.
Maybe Thompson. Maybe Thompson just likes living in Florida and is.
But he's older, right? And I'm not saying he can't coach until his 70s. I'm saying like he's already made his bones.
Right.
Like he's not going to grow. Like his career isn't going to be remembered just for what he did at Florida State, unless he coaches the bejesus out of those tight ends.
Right. Mackey Award winners left and right, just cranking them
they'd
out.
rename the award.
Sabaxley also adds that I am in the Jay Black camp. That means James Blackman for you kids.
Okay. All right.
I'm not saying he will be all ACC, but he will flourish under Norvell and Dillingham. My pick for a sleeper is Jordan Young. In an offense made for playmakers, he will make some big-time plays. I've missed talking with you guys, and the last thought I will leave you with is, no matter what, go Noles.
There it is. There it is.
That's right.
Well said.
That's right. AES 117. Wake up! How's it going, gentlemen? As the offseason draws to a close with practices about to start, I'd like to ask two final non-football related questions. All heroes have a great origin story. Can we hear the origin story of our off-season heroes? How did the Wake Up Warchant podcast come to be? Was this specifically why Aslan was brought in? Was it something you all just came up with one day, or was it in development for a while? This thing's been around for a while, like 15, maybe even before then.
Yeah, Ryan Kelly, who used to work at Warchant, was the host.
Now at WCTV in Tallahassee.
Now WCTV, yeah, he's on TV. Yeah. And then I remember I never met Aslan. We had followed each other on, or he had. I should be more clear. You had followed me on Twitter.
That's right.
But we had some back and forth, because I thought your name was Asian Hodges.
Right.
But anyway, so Gene.
Look at this idiot. Who's this Asian Hodges idiot?
I never said that. I liked your takes. They were hot. So I didn't have any idea. Like Gene, we'll be transparent. Gene I'd almost come over maybe a time or two before. And then finally I thought whenever that was, December of 17, November of 17, that now's the time. I didn't quite like the direction newspapers were going. One of my best friends worked at Warchant. I really respected Gene. The money was incredible, 7 figures out of the gate. That's a joke, folks. I know sometimes I'm so sarcastic. And why would you guys know what media people get paid? But it ain't that.
It's not.
So anyway, so we're sitting there. I think we're sitting there on the day I agreed to do it. We're at a local establishment, and he's telling me the idea, and he's like, "Oh, and by the way, I'm going to be hiring this guy Aslan, who's a Florida. He used to intern with us back in the early 2000s, I think, or mid 2000s, and he's gonna take over the podcast. And I thought you and him could do that together every day. And it was like, in my mind, it was almost like a record scratch. Like, wait, what? I'm going to be doing a daily podcast? What?
Right.
And it was just kind of thrown out there. And, it's not hard work. It's an hour a day of just talking about nonsense. Not nonsense. Me talking nonsense about important stuff. And then that's how it started. And then we met I think even like, did I meet you before you were hired? Or we tried to meet but couldn't?
I think he tried to give me your numbers. Like, yeah, call Corey. Got to get a feel for each other. And I was like, all right, sure. But I don't even think – because you're driving back and forth. You were never really able to touch base. I think it was just like, all right, we're going to meet at ESPN 105.9. Is it 105.9? 97.9. 97.9. 105.9 was the station I worked at in Dothan. And I think, we didn't meet each other, I don't think, until we actually recorded a show, right?
Yeah, I think so. And then, that's kind of how it started. Like and then it was just instantaneous, just best friends for life.
Yeah.
Like just straight brothers.
Going to be my best man if I ever get married.
Yep. And if I ever get married again.
There you go. For me, are you done? I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, but that was just, I think it was Gene's grand vision. Mm-hmm. Like, I think he thought that you and I would work well together, and that, and that's assuming that people listening to this think you and I work well together. But, I don't know how it was presented to you, but to me, it was, you're going to, I thought it would be like when Ryan Kelly did it, he'd have Ira on every other, once a week maybe to talk about things. Yeah. But then I didn't realize I was going to be a co-host technically. And then once we started doing it, I really liked it. I mean, it's fun. I get to espouse opinions all the time.
Yeah. You're the star of the show. You don't get, that was my whole thing. I discovered you through learning or listening to Seminole Headlines, which my good friend John in Birmingham told me about when I was in Tallahassee, when I was in Jackson, Mississippi. In 13, he's like, you got to listen to this. He's like, it's Cameron, but he's also Ira and this guy Corey. And I'm like, I'll check it out. Which, by the way, I went golfing with my buddy a few weeks back, and him and his dad, they're the Miami guys. They like you. They think you're even-handed and funny and fair. Oh. They think so.
Well, I mean, they're not alone in that sentiment.
So I did listen. I would listen to.
Tell them I appreciate it, guys, if you're listening.
So I would listen to headlines when I was pre-producing like our Friday night football show on Thursday nights. Like by then, I'd kind of sit and let it marinate, and I would listen to Seminole Headlines. But for me, it was 17. This all really is all Gene though. Like Gene just has pretty good business acumen and foresight to make a website in 1998 that was actually called, I think, FSUKnowles.com. But then they're like, hey, you can't do that. So he comes up with Warchant. We'll have him on the show to talk about it. But yeah, I think he just had a real sort of good feel that it was going to work. It was my idea to do a podcast every single day. It's worked out nice. But it was 17. I was actually at the Alabama-Florida State game covering Alabama for the TV station I was working at. And I literally bumped into Ira in the parking garage walking up to the stadium, and it was September. And Ira's like, would you ever come back to Tallahassee and work for us at Warchant? I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm like, I'm kind of like doing this TV thing. He's like, just think about it. He's like, just take the call. No big deal. And I don't even know if I don't see Ira at the game, I don't know if he just emails me and I don't take it as seriously, or if he DMs me, I don't know if I take it as seriously. But then, like in October, my job in Dothan just hit the skids. Like I was absolutely miserable. I hated it. I didn't get along with anybody there. Surprise, surprise. Which I'm joking. I loved everybody I worked with at every other TV station, but the one in Dothan was horrible. And then literally they're like, yeah, we're not going to renew your contract when it expires. And I'm like, thank you, because I wanted to leave, and I would have to pay money to get out of my contract. And around that time, Gene finally calls me to talk about the job like a month later in October. And I was just like, it worked out so serendipitously. It was like perfect timing. And then he's like, by the way, he's like, I'm working on Corey Clark. He's like, don't say anything. He's like, but I think he's going to take the job, and I'm going to have you two host it. I was like, well, that's going to work.
You just cussed.
I don't know. Well, it was because, I mean, like, listen, it's awkward because we do this every day now, but like, I really enjoyed listening to you on headlines. Like, we in our group chat, like, why don't they let Corey talk more? Like, Jeff drives it, and then Ira, like, they just. I don't say they drown you out, but like, you pick your spots a lot more judiciously there than I think you should. But whatever, you have all the stuff you can do here now. But I was like, all right, dude, I'm like, this guy knows Florida State in and out. Like, I don't have to do heavy lifting. When I was in Dothan on my radio show, I had to do everything. Like, I was booking hosts, I was booking guests. I mean, I was doing everything. I was just doing everything and having to creatively drive it and drive all the content. And with this, I know all you gotta do is ask you a halfway decent question, and you'll spin it into like a 5-minute thing. So it's good.
That's right.
That's how it came to be. Corey, you seem to be great at the single dad thing. AES117 continues. Any tips for a fellow single dad that hasn't been doing it as long? Thanks again for the hard work this offseason. Go Noles.
Oh, well,
get a good
number
job.
one,
Work for Warchant. Get a really good
yeah,
job.
that helps. And honestly, and I don't know your situation at all. How could I? Why would I? That'd be weird if I did. But like, it really helps to have an ex-wife that you get along with. Brady's mom is a very nice person, a great person, and a good mom. And every parenting decision we make together, and that to me has been the biggest key to the whole thing, is just the way the way Shannon and I work together, even though we're not married anymore. As far as the single dad stuff, man, it's like, I mean, I don't know if I'm a good one or not. Sometimes I think I'm the worst guy in the world with the way I talk to him, but then I'm like, you know what, Brady? If you just shut your mouth, maybe you wouldn't have to hear this tone. So my advice is to, I guess, never get too mad, and I need to heed that. But, I don't know, just show them you love them. And I don't mean like hugs. I mean, just care about things, care about and I shouldn't say he or her, whoever you're a single dad to. Care about grades, care about friends, show that you're interested. And just, be there. Being there to me is 80% of it. And just, I don't know. It's a hard question to answer because I don't consider myself a good single dad, although I really do appreciate the compliments.
Take him on long cross-country drives.
Where he's just ripping in the back seat.
Yeah.
Just ripping whatever's in his stomach just comes out for the whole world to hear about.
Well, that's what happens when you're eating out in Omaha for 7 days.
That's true.
Poor guy.
That's true.
And then stopping at the most dingy McDonald's in some random city in Iowa because you had to get diverted off the interstate because it's flooding.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was a year
What
ago.
a time. What a time. I think that's when Wake Up Warchant really hit the next level, that bonding, that drive from Omaha.
Here we go. Last question of today's episode. Again, we'll be back again tomorrow. Ira will join us, share his thoughts on what we heard from the coaches. And then hopefully, Monday when we come back, we'll have some practice, perhaps insight to share. We'll figure all that out. Last question. Lake Jackson Birdman. FAMU versus FSU. Football. Win-win or recipe for disaster? I feel like win-win, man. Maybe I'm just that idealistic 18-year-old still resides in a small part of my soul. I just think I think it works, man.
Yeah, they're not MEAC. The MEAC doesn't have a football schedule, right? Isn't that the deal?
No, they're in the SWAC now. They're in the SWAC.
The SWAC, that's right. But I don't know if they had. I saw some quotes on Twitter from their AD. I think it might have been their head coach, but I think it was their AD, saying they don't have any games scheduled, but they have people calling them. And the way he talked intimated that maybe Florida State had been calling them. He would not say them by name, but I think he was asked specifically about Florida State, or he said something about a fellow Tallahassee team. Look, I know everybody's freaked out about the fight from 30 years ago, the basketball fight. In this, I don't know if it got into the stands. I know the old lore is that Cassell picked up a pencil, and it was not great there on the court for a while. But I don't know, man. I mean, I think it would be, you worry. I guess Miami got in that fight with, who was that? Was it FIU?
Yeah. Lamar Thomas was the color commentator.
Yeah,
like,
go back across the bridge.
Don't
Or
bring
that's
that
what you get
around
when you
here.
come across the bridge. If it would help both schools, I would be all for it. And if you're worried about the fans and what would happen in the stands, or if you're worried about what would happen between the two teams because they're in the same city, I don't know. You don't have to worry about the fans. No. So this would be the year to give it a test run, I would guess, if you're going to. I don't. Again, I have no inside knowledge on if they're going to play FAMU or not. Moving forward, it makes no sense. This is the only year, in my opinion, where it would make sense for Florida State to do it.
The rivalry renewed for the first time since FSU beat FAMU 81-79 in 1982, all but ended after the fight was broken up by game officials and members of the Tallahassee Police Department. 9 police officers surrounded the court. Cassell lay on his side on the baseline while Walton, 6'8", 225 pounds, continually punched him. It has a lot of, colorful language and just, as if it was a big fight. The game was close, though. I thought it would be like a blowout. It was 38-35. FSU was up with 1:19 left in the first half.
They were biding their time. The Noles were biding their time. They're waiting for that patented second half run.
Yeah, so.
But, are we going to use that to litigate 30 years later?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm with you.
Florida State and Florida play every year, and Doug Johnson threw a football at Bobby Bowden's face. And they played the game the next year.
Chump. Yeah, I'm all for it, man. I think it'd be cool. And especially in this day and age when we're talking about the finances of sport, of these college departments and the athletic departments, and just how crucial it is to be able to get these buy games or these payday games for these smaller schools. With all due respect to Samford, why give Samford $400,000? Like, why give that money to a university in the state of Alabama when you can infuse that cash with, I don't know. Literally people that live in your community, live in this area, live in this zip code, live in this area code. I think it'd be a good thing, and I'm not.
You just can't lose the game.
Listen, they do it a lot in Mississippi. Ole Miss, I don't think, has done it, and that's a whole other can of worms itself. But Mississippi State and Southern Miss continually play Jackson State and Alcorn, which are SWAC schools, HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. And those games are great. Those are huge. Even, like Southern Miss loves it. Like Southern Miss down in Hattiesburg, they get a pretty decent turnout on home games. But like when Alcorn comes to town, that place gets sold out. And I was there. I covered that game. And there was I've covered Mississippi State, Jackson State. I've covered Alcorn and USM. And trust me, Mississippi's racial history is a little more checkered than Florida in the Panhandle. And they have a good Saturday every year about those schools all sort of intermingle and play each other. So I'm all for playing our neighbors. I like it. But hey, let's just play whoever we're going to play when we're going to play. By the way, also we buried the lead, Corey, at 9 a.m., which we've already recorded this. 9 a.m. they're going to release the actual schedule, like the schedule. We know who they're playing and where, but we don't know when. So we'll find that out at 9 a.m.
I'm really interested, number one, who the first game is going to be, first games, and then when. Like, really? So we know for sure it's 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Yeah, I think that's what they said.
Like that weekend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. They're going to be, so ACC is going to be the only game in town.
Or maybe it's the 5th through the 12th. I think it's like the first week they're going to play. But to your point,
they'll still be the only game in town.
Yeah, because Big Ten says they're going to, they're 26th or whatever. I know SEC's 26th. Pac-12 is around then as well. Big 12. So, yeah, Florida State, which is kind of crazy. Like they're kind of, hey, we're going to be the first out the gate.
So, yeah, Florida State, don't be surprised if they open up with Notre Dame, Miami, and Clemson. The ACC is going to do whatever they can to get eyeballs on their games as long as college football lasts and before the other big conferences join the fray.
I think they did announce, or it kind of leaked out. I'm trying to find it. I thought Clemson Notre Dame leaked, like what day that game is going to be played, but I cannot pull it up for some reason right now. I saw it. I promise I saw it, but that sounds like it's going to happen later on in the calendar. So I think as of now, which I even shouldn't say anything because it's going to be dated, but probably I think Florida State's probably likely to play Clemson before they play Notre Dame. At least that's what Gene and Ira were hearing. So I should preface it with the people who know what they're talking about. But that was like, when did we have our last little? It was a happy hour. It was like a week ago. You know how things change in the COVID era. So that being said, I'm done, Corey. We're gonna do another show tomorrow, though. So
I can't wait, buddy. You, me, and Ira, the trio back together again.
Yeah.
And I apologize in advance to the listeners that they have to listen to Ira, but just grin and bear it. He likes to be on he likes to talk, and we like to placate him as much as possible.
Get good night rest, Corey. Have some real good questions to ask, and we'll rock and roll. We'll do another show. Thanks for listening,
Can't
everybody.
wait, buddy. Can't wait.
That's right.